Casey, three options that I see here, what this export license is for, based on what Eunice just said, to sell the algorithm, show it, or to spike it, just make it clear, no, you can't have this. Which do you think it is?
I mean, Oracle and the deal that was approved in the United States would have let Bytedance retain its algorithm, right?
Yeah, that's the show it option.
Yeah, so I think the show it option is probably the most likely because, again, it will, Trump will still get to declare total victory regardless of all the facts, and China will get to retain control of a really fast-growing global asset that it is, justifiably proud of. So, I mean, to me, that seems like the best compromise. But, obviously, when you're dealing with geopolitics and diplomacy, things can get weird in a hurry.
Casey, that the Chinese are going to let the algorithm go, so to speak. I mean, you certainly could have them take a snapshot of it, and then engineers working for TikTok could recreate something that is similar to it. But, it's funny. I think sometimes we lose sight of the bigger issues here, which is, of course, the growth of AI in China and whether or not they're equal to us or even exceeding the U.S., so to speak, in that, because it does appear that both countries are going to be going in divergent paths in terms of the development of that very important technology. I'm curious to get your thoughts.
It's a great question. And I think a really important source of debate during this whole time has been, like, how good is that recommendation algorithm really? Like, if you use TikTok, it feels pretty good. It's always showing you something interesting. But sometimes I wonder if we have overrated how important that algorithm and the AI behind it really are. There's a great article by the writer Eugene Wei this week that talked about TikTok is built perfectly so that every signal that you send it in the app is perfectly understandable to a machine learning system. So it's less about the AI itself and more about the design of the product. That's something that can be copied in the United States without having to make some huge advancement in AI. So I think there's no doubt that this is an outstanding algorithm, but I think it's important to remember that TikTok is actually an outstanding product, and you can't separate those two things if you want to talk about why it's been so successful.
Certainly a very addictive product. Casey, it'll be interesting to see what happens ahead of that new deadline on Sunday, whether TikTok is granted a stay and whether that app can keep operating. Now, finally, Casey, your latest article for The Verge is titled Mark in the Middle. You used leaked audio from Mark Zuckerberg to chronicle his decision-making ahead of what is a very important election for Facebook. His employees asking for him to take a harder line against the president, while his user base says the opposite. This is such a great article, Casey, and it really shows the sort of paradox that Zuckerberg is facing. What's he going to do here? Are we to expect some more announcements like that one-week ban on political ads ahead of the election? What's going to come of this?
Well, look, this is a very fast-moving situation, right? It was just yesterday that Facebook had to confirm that if Trump declares victory the day after the election, even if the results aren't finalized, and tries to take out an ad, Facebook says it's going to block that ad. That's a decision that it made or at least announced yesterday, right? And voting is already underway in this election. So what that says to me is this is just very fluid. These folks are trying to understand the situation in real time, just like the rest of us are. And, what I tried to show in my story was that sort of no matter what decision this company makes, it's going to outrage an enormous number of people. And so as the weeks and months go on, the company is just sort of under more and more pressure. And my question is, at what point does it hit some kind of breaking point?
Is it, though, Casey, under more and more pressure, or have we just entered this space of constant pressure that the company is under? And, people haven't abandoned Facebook. Users haven't. They're still using it probably more than ever as this pandemic drags on. People in general don't hate Facebook, even though they're maybe wary of it. So maybe this is manageable for them.
I think certainly you're right in the sense that Facebook is having a stellar year on the finances, right? When you look at their revenue, when you look at their usage data, and I sort of have some fresh usage data internally in that story, you see that they're just sort of they're thriving. But at the same time, its public image continues to take hit after hit. Trust in the company is at all-time lows. Engineers are continuing to quit and issue these anguished public statements. And I wonder if Facebook isn't going to have more trouble attracting and retaining talent over time. So these are some of the sort of paper cuts that are maybe a little bit less visible, but can bleed some of the energy out of a company over time. So while certainly I don't think Facebook is going anywhere anytime soon, I do wonder if it's going to hit some sort of breaking point with these sort of constant controversies around its content policies and what it allows to stay up on the site.